I moved into the dorms my sophomore year, thinking it would be better than commuting. Everyone told me college dorm life was messy, but fun. Pranks, late-night conversations, the kind of stories you laugh about years later. What I got instead was something I can't laugh about, something I still can't fully explain. My roommate's name was Caleb. At first glance, he seemed normal enough, quiet, lanky, always wearing the same gray hoodie even when it was hot out. He didn't smile much, but he wasn't rude either. Just reserved. Honestly, I thought I'd lucked out compared to some of the stories I'd heard about nightmare roommates. But then the little things started. The first week, I noticed he always had a notebook open on his desk. Always. He never let me see what was in it. If I came back from class and he was writing in it, he'd slam it shut like I'd caught him watching something inappropriate. At first, I didn't care. Everyone's entitled to privacy. But the way he protected that notebook was obsessive. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the scratching sound of a pen. I rolled over in bed, and in the glow of his desk lamp, there he was, hunched over that same notebook, scribbling furiously. His hand moved so fast it didn't look natural. I swear he didn't even pause to dip his pen in ink or to think about what to write. Just constant motion, like he was copying something down that was being dictated to him. The weird part? He was whispering. His lips moved fast, but I couldn't make out the words. It didn't sound like English. I lay there, frozen, pretending to be asleep. My chest felt tight, like if I even breathed too loud, he'd know I was awake. The scratching and whispering went on for hours, long after I drifted in and out of uneasy half-sleep. The next morning, he acted completely normal. Hoodie on, headphones in, muttered "hey" when I greeted him. If I hadn't heard it myself, I would have thought I dreamed it. But then it kept happening. Almost every night, around 1 or 2 a.m., the scratching started. Always the same. The furious writing, the whispering. I started putting in earbuds just so I could sleep, but sometimes I'd wake up and see him staring at me. Sitting in his bed, notebook clutched to his chest, just watching. His eyes would flick away the second I moved, but the image burned into me. One night, my curiosity got the better of me. While he was in the shower, I tried to peek inside the notebook. I shouldn't have. The pages weren't filled with words like I expected. They were filled with names. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Written in neat, cramped handwriting that covered every single inch of paper. No margins, no spacing, just endless lists of names. Some were normal, like James Carter or Emily Nguyen. Others were gibberish, words that didn't look like any language I'd ever seen. And then, on the most recent page, I saw my name, written over and over, dozens of times. My full name. My stomach dropped. I shoved the notebook back exactly where it had been and scrambled back to my bed before he came in. When he walked back through the door, damp hair sticking to his forehead, he froze. Just for a second. His eyes darted to the desk, then to me, and he smiled. It was the first time I'd seen him smile. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't human. That night, I pretended to sleep, but I could hear him whispering again. Only this time, I knew what he was whispering. My name. Over and over. Like a prayer. I requested a room transfer the next morning. The housing office told me it would take a few weeks before anything opened up. I didn't have weeks. The last night I stayed in that room, I woke up to find him standing directly beside my bed, notebook open, pen hovering over the page. His face was inches from mine, eyes wide and unblinking, whispering my name in that same frantic tone. I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I just lay there, heart pounding, until the sun rose and he finally went back to his desk. I packed my things while he was in class and slept on a friend's floor until the transfer went through. But here's the thing. I've checked the housing directory since then. There is no Caleb Whitmore listed as a student at this university. When I moved into my freshman dorm, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. The building was older, sure, but the rooms were bigger than most. I had my own side of the room, a big window looking out at the quad, and, at least from what I could tell during move-in day, a quiet roommate. His name was Daniel Mercer. When I first met him, he seemed normal. He was polite, soft-spoken, kind of distant, but I just chalked it up to nerves. Everyone's awkward on day one. He helped me carry up a box, introduced himself in this very low, even voice, and then went back to unpacking his stuff. But there were little things about him that stuck with me, even then. He brought hardly anything, just one suitcase of clothes, a few books, and this old desk lamp with a cracked shade. No posters, no decorations, nothing that made the room feel like his. His side of the dorm looked bare, almost temporary, like he wasn't planning on staying long. The first few nights were fine. Classes hadn't started yet, so most of the dorm was up late, talking in the halls, blasting music. I'd fall asleep to the noise and wake up early to the sunlight. But after that first week, I started noticing something strange about Daniel. He didn't sleep. At least, not like a normal person. I'd go to bed around midnight, sometimes later, and when I woke up, 2, 3, 4 in the morning to use the bathroom, he was always awake, sitting at his desk. That cracked lamp would be on, casting this yellow glow across his side of the room, and Daniel would just be sitting there. Sometimes he was reading, sometimes writing, sometimes just staring at the wall. His posture never changed, his face never moved, and I swear, more than once, I caught him just looking at me. Not in a curious way, just watching. At first, I told myself maybe he had insomnia. A lot of people do. But the thing is, I never, not once, saw him close his eyes. He didn't nap during the day, didn't even rest when everyone else crashed after late-night study sessions. It was like sleep didn't exist for him. The longer it went on, the more it got under my skin. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up because the room felt wrong, heavy, like the air was thicker somehow. I rolled over, and there he was, sitting upright on his bed, perfectly still, facing me. Not the wall. Me. His eyes were open, wide, unblinking in the glow of that lamp. I whispered, "Hey, you okay?" Nothing. Not even a nod. Just staring. I waited maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like forever. Finally, I pulled the covers over my head like a little kid and just prayed I'd fall back asleep. The next morning, I wanted to ask him about it, but he was already gone when I woke up. His bed was neatly made, like no one had touched it. That became a pattern. I'd catch him doing weird things at night, standing by the window for hours, motionless, rearranging his desk drawers in total silence. Once, I woke up to the sound of scratching and saw him writing in a notebook, his hand moving so fast it looked impossible. I couldn't help but glance at the pages the next day when he wasn't there. But the notebook was filled with line after line of nonsense symbols, shapes, scribbles. Nothing that made sense. It started messing with my head. I was exhausted all the time because I couldn't sleep knowing someone was awake in the room, just sitting there. I started dreading going back at night. I'd spend extra hours in the library or crash on friends' couches just to avoid it. But the weirdest night, the one that still makes me shake thinking about it, happened about a month in. I woke up at 3:17 a.m. I remember the time because I glanced at the clock as soon as I opened my eyes. The room was dark, but I heard breathing. Not normal, steady breathing. This was shallow, uneven, like someone was trying not to be heard. I sat up and realized the lamp was off. Daniel wasn't at his desk. His bed looked empty. Then I noticed the closet door. It was cracked open, just barely, and the breathing was coming from inside. I froze. Every instinct in me screamed to get up, leave, run to the RA's room. But I just sat there, staring at that dark slit of space, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. Maybe it was pipes, or the wind through the vent. Then the door creaked, slowly, an inch wider. I couldn't move. My heart was hammering so hard I felt sick. The breathing grew louder, closer, until I swear I could hear the faintest whisper of fabric, like someone shifting in the dark. I forced myself to speak, my voice breaking. "Daniel?" The breathing stopped, dead silent. For what felt like minutes, I just sat there, staring at that crack in the door, waiting for something, anything, to happen. But it didn't. Eventually, I lay back down, pulled the blanket over my head, and stayed perfectly still until morning light filled the room. When I finally got the courage to look, the closet was wide open, empty. His side of the room looked untouched, the bed perfectly made, the notebook closed on the desk. Daniel came back later that day like nothing happened, smiling faintly, asking me if I'd eaten breakfast yet. I wanted to confront him, to ask where the hell he'd been last night, but I couldn't. There was something about the way he looked at me, calm, unbothered, like he already knew what I'd seen, that kept me quiet. A few weeks later, he transferred out. No explanation. One day he was packing up. The next he was gone. The school never gave me a new roommate, so I had the room to myself after that. But I never really slept there again. Because sometimes, late at night, I'd wake up and swear I could still hear that uneven breathing coming from the closet. I was nervous about starting college, but more than anything, I was excited to meet my new roommate. Her name was Claire, and from the few texts we'd exchanged before move-in day, she seemed perfectly normal. Friendly, upbeat, the kind of person you wouldn't mind sharing a shoebox-sized dorm with. When I arrived, Claire was already unpacked. Her side of the room looked like something out of a catalog. Everything neatly folded, color-coded, and reflective. She had brought not one, not two, but 5 mirrors. Different sizes, different frames. One leaned against her desk, one propped by her bed, one stuck to the inside of her closet, and 2 smaller ones nailed right into the cinder block walls. It struck me as excessive, but I brushed it off. Maybe she just liked her reflection. The first week was normal enough. Classes, orientation, late-night pizza runs. But I started noticing something strange about Claire. She didn't just use her mirrors for makeup or checking her outfit. She watched them. I'd be studying, and I'd catch her staring at her reflection for minutes at a time, not moving. Sometimes she'd mouth words silently, like she was having a conversation with herself. Other times, she'd just smile. Wide. Too wide. I laughed it off to friends. Oh, my roommate's a little vain. But inside, it unsettled me. Things escalated the first night I stayed up late to finish an essay. Claire had gone to bed early. Around 1 a.m., I stretched, yawned, and happened to glance at the tall mirror near her bed. Her reflection was sitting up, but Claire wasn't. She was lying down, facing the wall, breathing slow and even. Yet in the mirror, I saw her reflection upright, sitting stiffly on the mattress, eyes open and staring directly at me. I froze. My brain scrambled to rationalize it. Trick of the light, sleep deprivation. But then her reflection smiled. Her real body didn't move. I slammed my laptop shut and pulled my blanket over my head like a terrified kid. I didn't sleep a second that night. The next morning, I checked. Claire was already gone for class. The mirror showed nothing unusual, just me, pale and shaky. I told myself it had been stress. I even considered asking for a room change, but I didn't want to be dramatic. That weekend, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of whispering. I thought maybe Claire was on the phone, but when I sat up, I realized she was standing in front of the mirror by her desk. She wasn't speaking into a phone. She was whispering to her reflection. Her head tilted slightly, like she was listening to someone respond. Then she nodded. Okay, I will. Her voice was calm, almost tender. I was paralyzed. My chest ached from holding my breath. The next morning, she acted completely normal. Chatted about classes, asked if I wanted to grab lunch. I nodded along, too scared to mention anything. Then, the following week, things took a darker turn. I came back from the library late, and Claire wasn't in the room. But her mirrors were covered. Every single one draped with a bedsheet or towel, except one. The smallest mirror, propped on her desk, was uncovered and angled toward my side of the room. Taped to the frame was a scrap of paper, scrawled in messy handwriting. Don't trust her reflection. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. When Claire returned, she acted as if nothing was different. The sheets stayed over the mirrors, except that one. I couldn't tell if the note was meant for her or for me. The last straw came 2 nights before winter break. I woke up to the sound of laughter. Not loud, but soft, broken giggles, like a child telling a secret. My eyes adjusted, and I saw Claire sitting cross-legged in front of the uncovered mirror, whispering and laughing into it. Then, slowly, she turned her head, not toward me, but toward my reflection in the mirror. And her reflection turned too. Both of them stared at me. Claire's real face was twisted in a smile I had never seen before. Wide, stretched, almost gleeful. But in the mirror, her reflection wasn't smiling. It was grim. Eyes hollow, mouth slightly open, like it was trying to warn me. I bolted. I grabbed my coat and shoes and didn't stop running until I was in the lobby of a different dorm, begging to crash on a friend's floor. I never went back. I told housing there was a conflict with my roommate and begged for a reassignment. They let me switch, thankfully. I've seen Claire around campus since then. She always smiles when she passes me, but there's something in her eyes that makes my stomach drop. Because when I see her, I can't stop wondering, when she looks in the mirror now, which version of her is smiling back? When I first moved into the dorms, I wasn't too worried about who my roommate would be. I figured, hey, it's college. Everyone's weird in their own way. But nothing could have prepared me for living with my roommate. For privacy reasons, I'm not going to say his real name. He wasn't loud, he wasn't messy, he wasn't even the kind of guy who'd throw parties or bring random people back to the room. On paper, he was the perfect roommate. Quiet, neat, respectful of space. But sometimes quiet doesn't mean safe. Sometimes it just means something is happening when you're not looking. At first, the only thing that struck me as odd was how much time he spent alone. While everyone else was in the lounge or hanging out in each other's rooms, he would stay in ours with the door shut. If I came back unexpectedly, I'd find him sitting at his desk, hunched over something I couldn't quite see. He'd snap it shut or slide it into a drawer the second I walked in. I told myself it was just classwork, maybe some personal writing. But after a few weeks, I started noticing patterns. Whenever I opened my closet, I felt like my clothes had been moved. My drawers didn't look the same as I'd left them. Nothing was missing, but something about the way my shirts were folded, off by just a bit, set my teeth on edge. Then, one night, I caught him. I'd gone to the library late and came back around 2 a.m. Our room was dark except for that faint glow from his desk lamp. He didn't hear me open the door. I stood there for a second, adjusting to the light, and that's when I saw what he was doing. He had a box open on his desk. Inside were my things. Not expensive stuff. Not anything valuable. Just small, personal objects I hadn't even noticed were missing. A keychain from high school. A pair of socks with the university logo. A photo strip of me and a couple of friends from orientation week. He was arranging them carefully, almost lovingly, into neat little rows. His hands were shaking as he did it. And the look on his face. It wasn't guilt or even excitement. It was devotion. Like he was building some kind of altar. I froze in the doorway. For a second I thought about confronting him, but my body wouldn't move. Then he noticed me. His head jerked up, eyes wide, and for the briefest moment, his expression twisted. Fear, anger, something else I couldn't name. Then he smiled, just calmly closed the box and said, "Oh, hey. You're back early." I couldn't even respond. I just mumbled something about being tired and crawled into bed, pretending I hadn't seen anything. The next day, the box was gone. His desk was spotless. But things escalated after that. I started noticing him watching me. Not casually, like friends do, but studying me. When I was on my laptop, I'd glance up and see his eyes fixed on my hands. When I was brushing my teeth, he'd stand in the doorway, silent, just observing. And then I realized it wasn't just my stuff he was collecting. One morning, I opened my backpack and found a folded napkin tucked between my notebooks. My handwriting was on it, something I'd scribbled and thrown out in the cafeteria days earlier. Another time, I found a strand of my own hair taped into the back of my class binder. He was going through my trash, my laundry. Every piece of me I wasn't paying attention to, he was keeping. The worst discovery came near the end of the semester. He left for the weekend, said he was visiting family. I took the chance to search his side of the room, my stomach twisting the whole time. I knew it was wrong, but I had to know. Under his bed, tucked into a locked trunk, I found it. Hundreds of items. Toothbrushes, pencil stubs, empty deodorant sticks, tissues, socks. All mine. Some of them from weeks ago, things I'd forgotten I ever owned. But there was more. On the inside of the trunk lid, taped in overlapping rows, were photographs of me. Some were clearly taken in the dorm while I was sleeping. My mouth half open, body twisted under the sheets. Some were blurry shots of me walking across campus. Others were so close I could see the pores on my skin. I felt sick. My legs almost gave out. I put everything back exactly as I found it and spent the entire weekend on edge, waiting for him to return. I wanted to tell someone, an RA, campus security, but I was terrified. If I reported him and he found out, what would he do? When he came back, he acted like nothing was wrong. He even asked if I wanted to grab dinner. But there was something in his smile, something that made my blood run cold. Because it wasn't friendly. It was knowing. I realized in that moment, he wanted me to find it. I requested a room transfer the next day, and by some miracle, they approved it quickly. I never saw him again.